We'll be doing the Easter eggs and prediction for Season 6, Episode 6 of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So beware, spoiler, not caught up. So the episode's title was called Inescapable, which I believe I forgot to mention in the last video. But it was referencing the whole entire episode about them being in a mine, Fitz and Simmons being in a mine prison that can't be escaped. And, what's called? Where I left off was I was about to talk about the stuff that happened in the lighthouse, and we see the aftermath of Fitz's death and in between Coulson's death. And what confused me in this episode or the scene was their clothing choices, because what caught me off guard first was Daisy's outfit, because I don't remember ever her wearing this like black outfit with like white sleeves. So that first caught me off guard. But then I went back and watched the season 5 finale, and I don't remember them wearing any of these clothes at any point. So obviously, this scene takes place between Fitz's death and Coulson's death when they go to Tahiti. So I don't exactly know the timeline wise or how accurate this scene actually could be, since they referenced earlier on that trying to escape could turn you into madness. So, and since I mentioned since some stuff happens later on that I'm about to talk about, it could mean that these outfit or this these memories aren't 100% accurate. So yeah, but Fitz finds out about Coulson's death. He freaks out, leaves. We see a scene with Yo-Yo, Daisy, and Simmons. And apparently this is in between season 5 to season 6, when they returned back home from their, I guess, mini adventure in space. Because at this point in time, Daisy has her blonde hair. Yo-Yo is now on Earth, or wants to stay on Earth with Mac, just to keep an eye on him so he doesn't like go crazy. And at this point in time, also, they reference that she doesn't want to leave him, even though the way that they ended things. So at this point in time, Mac and Yo-Yo are already broken up, and it just shows the character that Yo-Yo is. Even though they've broken up, she will still care about Mac and still wants to keep an eye on him. So yeah, but that leads into another section later on. But later on in this episode, they're back in. Simmons ends up back in the lighthouse, and she gets captured by the Doctor, and she's trying to I guess Simmons is trying to piss off the Doctor by mentioning his father manipulated him, and then mentioned Ada, how I don't know if she's also referring to that, but she also referring to Ada manipulating him, because she says your father manipulated you and Ada. So I don't know if that's or Ada and or something like that. So I don't know if she's referring to Ada manipulating him. But yeah, the Doctor makes a comment about how their friends always joke about them sharing the same mind, which I even referenced that, I believe, last episode. So, I believe it was last episode or the episode before that. But yeah, so even the Doctor knows that they share the same mind. And what I really liked about this scene where Simmons is trapped in this memory machine or whatever, is that the person that comes to save Simmons is Daisy, which in a way, this scene is basically Daisy's revenge on the Doctor for strapping her on a table for surgery. So in season 5, episode 14, I believe it was episode 14. But yeah, so in a way, this is kind of a revenge, because Simmons is strapped on a table by the Doctor. So yeah, and but going before that, before the Doctor returns, we see a scene in the dorm room, or Fitz's dorm room at the Shield Academy, which they reference Agent Weaver, which we haven't seen her since season 2. I honestly I do want to see her again, but the actress is kind of busy on another show, Black Lightning, so I don't know if it will be possible scheduling wise for her to come back at some point. But it was a little detail at first, but then they did focus on it a lot more. Is that as Fitz is basically unraveling from his knowledge from his death, Coulson's death, or whatever, you see 5 little monkeys on a wall in the background, and those are the same monkeys that Fitz drew on the wall in his cell of season 5, episode 5. That was the first time we got a piece of foreshadowing for Fitz's Doctor's the Doctor's persona, or split personality. So yeah, it's cool that they put that there, and then they focused on it later on, and it was much bigger. So you saw how much raveling it went, how crazy he's going. But there was this flag that is also in his room about a Manchester United. Since I don't really care about sports at all, I don't know who this group is or whatever. But apparently, it's the same group that he was yelling or fighting Hunter with in season 5, episode 5, the same episode with the monkeys. So yeah. And it's also the same, like I said, it was also the same time that they foreshadowed the events of that season with the Doctor reappearing. And that's when Leopold shows up. But they also reference in the scene where this was the first time that Simmons put Fitz in the friend zone, and this is the first time Fitz felt comfortable in Simmons' presence. But the next basically section, I guess, is the meeting with Coulson, and what caught me off guard again with the clothes, which I'm just chalking it up as them going into madness because of all the weird stuff with the monkeys on the walls or whatever. So I'm just chalking this up as miss memory, I guess. Messy memory or whatever, because when we first meet Fitz and Simmons, they were wearing clothes we've seen before, which is actually in the pilot episode, but those aren't the first clothes we actually meet them in. Which when we first meet them, they're on the bus and the first interaction is with Ward, and what they're wearing in that scene is Simmons is wearing a pink pink shirt, where Fitz is wearing a brown sweater. So for them to wear a blue, Fitz wearing a blue sweater, and Simmons wearing a gray jacket, it just seems kind of weird that they put that there. But it could also just mean that their minds are just so messed up at this point that it's just not 100% correct. But these clothes do end up being in the show a bit later on in the season, or later on in that pilot episode. But it's also their promotional outfits that they wore to promote, or promotional character posters. So it is a reference to that pilot, but also a reference to their promotional photos. So yeah. Simmons has this reference about, have you heard the stories? Most likely talking about Fitz or Coulson dying or whatever, but also probably his adventures with the Avengers, maybe. But it's a possibility. I don't 100% sure what she was referring to there, but Fitz or Coulson says to them, "You'll be the most changed by it," and that is really true because they are changed. Have changed a lot since season 1. So yeah, and I believe I remember hearing Simmons say this before, is which chin up Fitz. There's nothing to be afraid of. Which I don't 100% sure what episode, but I remember hearing that before. So it's not something that just came out of nowhere. And another thing that happened is them in or Fitz in Zephyr 1 and with the zombie what's it called? Simmons, and Simmons decides to hang Fitz upside down, which is basically the same thing that she did with the Durillion in the season 6 premiere, and she basically says the same thing, I believe, to him about what would go first, or about lungs or bones will go first, or something like that. So I'm assuming that was supposed to be a reference to that. And again, with similarities to Daisy getting revenge or whatever, the person who comes to rescue Fitz in this scene is Mac, since Mac is his one of his best friends, I guess, because Enoch would say otherwise. But he rescues Fitz, calls him Turbo, and whatnot. So I really liked how they brought Mac also into rescuing Fitz, because they were having a bit of trouble last season, but this Fitz doesn't know this. So to have their bromance coming back, it's kind of cool. And I think I just want to leave that here for this section. But the last section will just be mainly talking about the containment pod and then the predictions. So come back for that, even though this is going to seem like a lot. It's not going to be a lot, but see ya.